Listen up, I got a true story to tell. Hey yo. So this go back, listen to my song Һалlows Eve's Bayou. It's on YouTube on my 7Gems page. And it talks about the experiences that I had dating back to 2023. It's one of the most incredible stories. And I do tell it throughout my music. You know, it's kind of like a puzzle. You gotta piece it together and you gotta, you know, click it all up so that you can understand. So it requires you listen to the music in order to understand the story. So if you're not interested in listening to the music, then you're not interested in the story. And I lied. I'm not about to tell you the story right now. I'm gonna tell you part of the story. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna start in the middle, right where I moved. Alright, so I had a spot, and I was allowing my mom to be there. I was working some things out, staying with a friend, but it was my place, you know what I'm saying? And I had things that, you know, I kept there or whatever, but she, you know, she got a heck of a deal. Anyway, she ended up moving somewhere else, and I got my apartment back, and that was a apartment 910 door. I call it 910 door because everything's a symbol for everything, right? Nintendo is 910 door. You know what I'm saying? 10 Cloverfield. That's why I say these things. So all the movies point towards, you know, what's happening. You know, it's on Alice Street. I put my address on there, but it was barking loud. I ain't come through and try to bite me. I must have got neutered or something. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't had a gusto to do that. But anyway, that's a side point. So yeah, I moved it back into there, and this story it exists on both sides, you know, physical, material, and spiritual. Because some of the experiences that I experienced were a part of a grand scheme as a revelation of God enlightened me on who I am and who I was. And everything that I've told you since, you know, I began this journey and telling you who I am, you know what I'm saying, it's all what's been conveyed to me telepathically by Master Muhammad. And I don't say these things and try to tote myself up like I'm HNIC or something, because that's not what it's about. You know what I'm saying? Jesus is just us, you know what I'm saying? So it's all about we. And if you flip the letter W over, me and we are the same letter. Because if you flip the W over up on its back, it turns into an M. And if you flip an M, it turns into a W. So me is we. You feel me? Like Nintendo we. So anyway, it's gonna have to be in parts, this story that I'm telling you. It's the most magnificent story that one could ever hear. And it also has a lot to do with all the stories that came out in movies, like The Matrix, like Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, Luke, I am your father. That's what that movie's about. It's about God's son. You know what I'm saying? Darth Vader is God and Luke is his son. You know what I mean? And Princess Leia is his daughter. So I was spiritually wedded to my first wives. Get to my 1-2, my 2-1 later. I'll just tell you the one, Princess Leia. You know what I'm saying? And her name is Aaliyah. And my name was Luke, because I was Lucania in my former life as Charlie Luciano, or Charlie Lucania, or however. You know what I'm saying? So that occurred over the course of many weeks. And many different events that took place. Initially, I was doing Lyft in the 2022 Polestar. Like the Equalizer did Lyft, you feel me? So I did Lyft in the 2022 Polestar, and I was being followed by these dudes that I wasn't even really sure who they was or why they was following me, but there's some crazy stuff that happened. I can't entirely tell you everything, you know what I'm saying, just yet, because I'm not necessarily in the safest zone. I am safe, but I'm not in the safest zone because I'm surrounded by people that want to see me fail, including my own family, which is sad. But you know, they are also under the influence of something that the governments, you know, like govern over mints, like what's that? What's that mint? That white mint. You know what I'm saying? Govern mint. You know. So I say it without saying it. Anyway, the govern of the mints, mint chips. You know, doesn't want to lose control over the minds of the people, because if they can't influence you through TV and they can't influence you through all these other mediums, you know what I'm saying, then worst case scenario for them is that they're going to try to, excuse me, brother, my bad. They want to impose it, you know what I'm saying? It's that get down or lay down mentality that governments have towards its citizens, because they feel like they are the custodians of the resources, and without them, you wouldn't know how to govern yourself, right? So that's what the government has been doing, and they specifically targeted me because in order for them to show their move, they had to be somewhat informed of certain things in order to see how they would react. Well, that's God testing, you know what I'm saying, to see what the move is going to be without any type of damage to the, you know, the most damage that could be done to me, you know, is minimalized. You know what I'm saying? I'm protected. I'm gonna have to go through stuff, but in the cycle of everything, you learn about everything that's going on as a result of the experience that you had. And so it was hit me with the high frequency radio wave beam. You know, CERN device. Look that up. You know, go watch Mercury Rising movie, and then go watch Starman. All these stories, they correlate with each other, you feel me? And so I was in the 910 door. Before I was doing Lyft, I was me and my BM, we had broke up, and but I was still like helping with my kids, and I was like watching around my house, you know, and all these new neighbors started moving in, you know what I'm saying, out of nowhere, just in droves, like they all knew each other too, right? So what later I found out is that all these fools that moved in, they all had an agenda. They was all bottom feeders for government agencies who was supposed to get paid to sit around and drink and act stupid so that they could try to set you off. And that's exactly what they try to do, you know what I'm saying? Specifically one person, but then there was also another person involved as well. And so that is sort of like the beginning of the story, because prior to that, I had not the knowledge of who I was in my past life. I just knew there was more that I did not know, you know. And even studying the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Islam and Hinduism and all this, I still was like, man, there's got to be more, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that's a good place to start, is in the middle, and then backtrack, and then go forward, and then we'll bounce back like that, like Back to the Future, you know what I'm saying? So we'll call this one Back to the Future, and I'll tap in with y'all a little bit later. I'm just wetting your beak so you think about these things, and so you can start putting the pieces together, because what they don't want you to do is for you to understand the connection between all things, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter, any word that exists in all languages has another meaning, you know what I'm saying? So I don't even speak Spanish that well, but I could tell you a Spanish word and what its root word meaning in English is, even though it doesn't directly mean that, because of the etymology and the linguistics and the way that you pronounce it. It ends up sounding the same anyway. So really there's only one language, you know, but there's dialects, you know what I'm saying? And so Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught me that that dialect is something that occurs as a result of the atmosphere that one is placed into. So it's not really a language, it's more of a scientific occurrence that got you talking like that, you know what I'm saying? Because you way up north where it snows, and your voice dialect changes, and people from the south sound like they're from the south, so on and so forth. So, you know, it's a lot, you know, and they don't want me to tell you these things because they want to keep you in the dark so that they can control you. But, you know, now is the day where you are given the option to liberate from the shackles of mental slavery and ignorance, and so seize the moment, you know what I'm saying? I'm not doing this for no money. I'm doing this purely out of the love for people who want to live right and do good in life and want to help others do well. That's me, you know what I'm saying? I don't do it for money, you know, but I definitely need money sometimes, but it's not for money, and I don't want the message to get misconstrued because I put up a Cash App hashtag on there when that's not what it's about. It's not about no cash. I don't even like dollars. I like Bitcoins. You know what Bitcoin is? You know, back in the day, in the old English days, they used to take a gold coin and they tell if it was real or not by biting on it, right? That's how you know Bitcoin is real money because it's symbolic. Bitcoin, when you press your teeth on it to see if it's copper or nickel, and you realize it's gold, that's a Bitcoin. And that is going to be the new wave because it's a limited supply on Bitcoin, so there's always going to be a way to make things fair, you know. And even though they try to jack people for theirs, like they did so many whales, they killed them, and bad things happened to them. That's because the niggas was greedy and they didn't want to share it, so they got swindled. But you know, not in all cases, but some. But anyway, that's a separate subject. There's so many things I want to touch on, but I don't really got the time to think about how I want to approach it, so that, you know, I say things in a certain way that you can understand it without, you know, making it sound like too like sci-fi or something like that, because it is kind of like sci-fi. And later we'll get into the blue beam, because they use the blue beam on me, and the blue beam is used through the VR. That's how they get you on the blue beam, because you can't see the blue beam without the VR on. So they do that shit in secret so that you don't even fucking know. And so they hit me with the VR blue beam, and that shit gave me heart murmurs and spasms and all kind of crazy shit. And this is government doing this shit in secret. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot happens since now and then, and God has been at work and preventing these things from happening to other people. But somebody had to go through it so others don't, you know what I mean? And so just be wary of the thoughts you think and the type of energy you keep around you, and we'll build on that. All right, y'all? I'm going to holler at y'all later. It's your boy, 𝔬𝔐𝚒𝚗𝚜𝚗.